Welcome to the Psychology and Physical Training channel, Fundamentals of Counseling Skills, the Intricacies of Therapy. Have you ever wondered why understanding transference, countertransference, and resistance is crucial in counseling? Indeed, these three terms, while they may seem complex and intimidating at first, form the bedrock of effective counseling. Let's take a moment to unpack these concepts and delve into why they are so important. First up, we have transference. Simply put, transference occurs when a client unconsciously redirects feelings or emotions experienced in past relationships towards the therapist. This could be as simple as a client viewing their therapist as a parental figure, or as complex as re-experiencing trauma through the therapeutic relationship. Next, we have countertransference. This is essentially the mirror image of transference. It's when therapists find themselves reacting emotionally to their clients, often because they've been reminded of their own past experiences or relationships. It's like a dance between the past and present, and it's a dance that therapists need to be acutely aware of. Finally, we have resistance. This is when clients unconsciously avoid discussing or addressing certain topics or feelings. It's a kind of mental roadblock, and it can significantly hinder the progress of therapy. Each of these concepts, in their own way, has the potential to either enhance or impede the therapeutic relationship. Transference and countertransference can both provide deep insights into a client's past experiences and current struggles. However, if not recognized and managed effectively, they can also distort the therapeutic relationship and create confusion or misunderstanding. Resistance, on the other hand, can be a sign that the client isn't ready to confront certain issues or emotions. But by recognizing resistance and approaching it with compassion and understanding, therapists can help clients gradually overcome these roadblocks and make meaningful progress in their journey of self-discovery and healing. In essence, these concepts are like the unseen currents that flow beneath the surface of therapy. They can be challenging to navigate, but with the right understanding and approach, they can also be harnessed to facilitate deep transformative change. So, to provide effective therapy, it's crucial to understand these concepts and navigate them appropriately. The dynamics of transference. Let's dive deeper into the first concept, transference. Transference, in its simplest form, is when a client unconsciously redirects feelings or attitudes from a person in their past onto the therapist. Think of it as a psychological echo where the client is responding to the therapist as if they were a significant person from their past. Take, for instance, a client who had a critical parent. This client might perceive the therapist's neutral feedback as harsh criticism, transferring their feelings associated with their parent onto the therapist. This is not a conscious process. The client isn't intentionally trying to see the therapist as their parent. It's more like a lens through which they view the world, colored by their past experiences. But it's not always negative. Positive transference can occur too. For instance, a client might transfer feelings of admiration and respect onto a therapist, mirroring a relationship with a beloved teacher or mentor. Transference plays a significant role in the therapeutic relationship. If left unrecognized, it can lead to misunderstandings and hinder the progress of therapy. However, when identified and managed effectively, transference can be a powerful tool. In our critical parent example, the therapist can use this transference as a window into the client's past. By exploring these feelings, the client may gain insight into their reactions and begin to understand how their past is influencing their present. On the flip side, unchecked negative transference can create a barrier in the therapy. The client may become overly defensive or resistant, hindering their openness to feedback and their overall progress. Managing transference requires a delicate balance. Therapists need to maintain an objective perspective, recognizing these projections for what they are and guiding the client to do the same. This process can be challenging, requiring patience, empathy, and a keen understanding of human behavior. As you can see, recognizing and managing transference can be a complex yet vital part of the therapeutic process. The complexity of countertransference. Next, let's explore the concept of countertransference. Countertransference, in its simplest form, is the reaction or feelings of the therapist towards the client. These reactions may be influenced by the therapist's own personal experiences, unresolved issues, or feelings. It's like a mirror reflecting the therapist's emotions back onto the client. It might sound a tad complex, but let's break it down with some examples. Imagine a therapist who had a difficult relationship with their mother. Now they're dealing with a client who exhibits behaviors similar to their mother's. The therapist might feel an unconscious resentment or annoyance towards the client, not solely because of the client's actions, but because they're reminded of their mother. That's countertransference in action. Another scenario could be a therapist who's recently gone through a breakup. They might find themselves overly sympathetic to a client dealing with relationship issues, even if the client's situation is not objectively as severe. The therapist's personal emotions are influencing their professional judgment. Countertransference isn't limited to negative emotions, though. A therapist may feel a strong affinity towards a client who shares similar interests or backgrounds. This might lead to the therapist being overly lenient or biased in their approach, which can be just as detrimental to the therapeutic process. So, how does countertransference affect therapy? Well, unchecked, it can cloud the therapist's judgment and hinder the therapeutic process. It can lead to misdiagnosis, inappropriate treatment approaches, and even ethical breaches. But here's the twist. Countertransference isn't always a bad thing. When recognized and addressed, it can provide valuable insights into the therapeutic relationship. It can make therapists more aware of their own biases and triggers and help them develop better strategies to manage them. It can even deepen their understanding of their clients' experiences, allowing for a more empathetic and effective therapeutic approach. In the end, it's all about awareness and management. Therapists must constantly self-reflect and seek supervision to ensure that their personal experiences aren't unduly influencing their professional practice. Countertransference, when recognized and addressed, can provide valuable insights into the therapeutic relationship. Resistance in therapy. Finally, let's delve into the concept of resistance. Now, resistance in therapy is not about a client being stubborn or non-compliant. Instead, it refers to the unconscious or conscious attempts by a client to block or disrupt the therapeutic process. In essence, resistance is a defense mechanism. It's the mind's way of protecting itself from distressing thoughts or emotions that might surface during therapy. Think of it as a safety valve, preventing the pressure from building up too much too quickly. Now, resistance can take many forms. It can be as subtle as a client consistently arriving late to sessions or frequently changing the subject. On the other hand, it can be as overt as a client refusing to discuss certain topics or even terminating therapy prematurely. One of the most common types of resistance is rationalization, where a client provides logical but untrue explanations for their behavior or feelings. For instance, a client might say, "I only drink to socialize, it's not like I need it to get through the day." This is a clear example of rationalization, where the client is using a seemingly reasonable explanation to avoid confronting the possibility of a drinking problem. Resistance can significantly impact therapy. It can slow down progress, create a stalemate between the therapist and the client, and even lead to therapy's termination. However, it's important to remember that resistance is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it can be a sign that the therapy is reaching areas of great importance to the client. As therapists, our goal is not to eliminate resistance, but to understand it. By recognizing and acknowledging resistance, we can help our clients explore what's beneath it. This exploration can lead to breakthroughs and deeper self-understanding. In conclusion, resistance is a complex, multifaceted phenomenon that plays a significant role in therapy. It's like a roadblock that forces us to slow down and reassess our journey. But by understanding and working through resistance, we can help our clients navigate around these roadblocks and continue on their path to healing and growth. Understanding resistance is key to overcoming obstacles in therapy and facilitating meaningful change for the client. Summing up the concepts, now that we've covered these three integral concepts, let's summarize our key takeaways. First up, we have transference. This is when a client redirects feelings and desires for people in their past onto the therapist. It's like casting the therapist in a role from their personal life stage. For instance, a client may view the therapist as a parent figure, attributing to them characteristics that actually belong to their own parents. This can impact therapy in significant ways. On one hand, it can provide valuable insights into the client's interpersonal relationships. Yet it can also create distortions in the therapeutic relationship if not managed correctly. Next, there's countertransference. This is the therapist's version of transference, where they transfer their own feelings onto the client. It's a mirror image of transference, reflecting the therapist's unresolved issues or emotional responses to the client's transference. An example could be a therapist feeling overly protective of a client who reminds them of their younger sibling. While countertransference might seem problematic, if recognized and handled appropriately, it can be a useful tool for understanding the client's experience. Last, but certainly not least, we have resistance. Resistance in therapy refers to an unconscious defense mechanism where clients avoid certain topics or feelings to protect themselves from anxiety or painful memories. It's like a mental wall that blocks progress. However, just like a wall has a door, resistance too can be worked through. Recognizing and addressing resistance can help clients move past their fears and towards their therapeutic goals. Each of these concepts plays a significant role in the therapeutic relationship and the success of therapy. They're like the gears in a clock, each one crucial in keeping the hands moving. Yet, they also pose challenges that therapists need to skillfully navigate. Understanding these concepts is the first step, but applying this understanding in the therapy room is where the real work begins. Remember, an effective therapist is not only aware of these concepts, but also skilled in navigating them to aid the therapeutic process. And if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe and follow to the Psychology and Physical Training channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.